We're really excited. Fortune and Good Morning America. But before all of that national exposure, she actually interned at the age of 17 right here on Auburn Avenue at the Atlanta Daily World, which was right down the street. It's one of the oldest black newspapers in Atlanta. And she also goes to, or when she's in Atlanta, goes to Wheat Street Baptist Church, which is on Auburn Avenue. Yeah. So we're really excited to welcome Miss Charreah K. Jackson back home. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to come. And we would like to welcome you onto the stage at this time so we can have a Sister Power on 10 Sister Circle conversation. This conversation is not just for women. It's for girls and men, and we're going to learn some things today from this millennial. So I'm looking forward to it. So, Ms. Charreah, please come to the stage. Yep. Okay, great.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I sound really loud. How you doing? Hey, handsome.
I think they just might need to turn the sound down because we're both loud.
We're naturally loud, and
yeah.
You know, Southern women, we carry bass, but no, this is definitely surreal and exciting and as full circle as it can be, as you mentioned. You know, to be now really excited with my first book coming out next month, but I got my first paycheck as a writer, confirmation that I could get paid to pursue this career right here on Auburn Avenue at the Atlanta Daily World here. And again, you know, my home church, I'll be there tomorrow for Mother's Day is Wheat Street Baptist Church. And you talk about my mom, Cynthia Jackson, who's an alto, third Sunday.
Hey.
Check her out.
Hey, Mom.
We'll be there tomorrow. So this city definitely made me the woman I am, and this street was instrumental in so much of that.
And so now well, before we even go there about where you're at now, what did you say on Facebook? God is gangster.
God is gangster, that's right. You know, I'm sure certain relatives are like gangster, but like, yeah, like in a way of like to wow you, because, you know, it hasn't always been easy. You know, I write in the bio of my book, before I was 25, I had battled cancer. I had been laid off from my dream job, found out I was the other woman in a new relationship. And so it doesn't mean it's always easy, but through all of the adversity, I've always seen God's hand guide me, and to see, even for all the weekends for this to take place, right? For it to be a time when I could come and was planning to come just to see my mom and to have this opportunity. And so many people, hey Bree, who's a librarian here, who's lovely, who I met on Instagram. Eris is like, shout me out too. Hey girl, she's part of your organization. Yes. My friend Chandra came by with her husband. My girl Krista, who's an artist, is here. My girl Takia right here, who's hooking me up. I don't know if this is IG, Facebook, whatever, but hey y'all, Takia is holding it down. If your arm gets sore, you don't have to stay right there, okay?
Well, you know what I want to know? What was your dream job? Because to me, Essence has always been my dream job, and you're there. And you met Oprah.
It changed many times, right? Because my mom is a teacher. And so when your mom is a teacher, you spend the summers with your mom. I was very fortunate that we had Camp Jackson. It was me, my brother, and my cousin. And so we would go to the library and we would get books, and we could be rowdy. And so if ever we got too rowdy, she would say, you have to go read for an hour. And so what started as punishment became like, after an hour, my brother said that to me this morning. He said, wow, after an hour, we'd be like back to playing, and you would still be reading. And so I've always loved reading and writing. And in high school, at Southwest DeKalb High School, I said, you know, I really want to go into magazines. That was after I wanted to be a teacher. I listened to Joyce Littell on B103,
Yes.
so I wanted to be a late night radio host for anyone who grew up in Atlanta, and Joyce is still amazing. And so I knew communications was something I was passionate about, and I was fortunate to be fed here to know that it was possible, and I always felt it was possible. And then in high school, as you mentioned, I wanted to be a lawyer, and then after interning at the Atlanta Daily World, I said, you know what, I actually like this journalism thing. I could see real people doing it. And so I interned at Upscale Magazine, majored in journalism at Howard University, and I interned at Upscale my freshman year, and then between my junior and senior year, I got an internship at Essence, and it was definitely life-changing. It was my first time being in New York. It was an opportunity to grow and expand, and I fell in love with the industry. I fell in love with New York, but this is always my first home. So people were like, oh, and obviously I still have a Southern accent. So after 11 years of living there, no one thinks I'm from New York. It's clear. I love color, and like this, I'm an Atlanta girl for life, so I'm still a peach.
Right. Well, before I start asking you the real questions about this book,
Yes.
Boss Bride.
Yes.
We have to say hashtag Sister Power on 10 and hashtag AARL Book Fair. We got to make sure you know that so everybody can follow us. So, Boss Bride.
Yes.
What is this all about?
What is it all about? I mean, so I moved to New York, as I mentioned, and one of the beats I managed for Essence was relationships content. I started as a web editor. And even when I was in school, I always was fascinated by relationships. I always wondered what made a relationship work, and how did someone know this was someone you wanted to spend your life with. And so even when my senior thesis at Howard, I had bad writer's block. I went to an alumni dinner we were having, and this woman in the bathroom was like, and she came in, you know, probably was a link, right? Got a fur stole on, hair all perfectly, you know, done. And she's shimmying through the bathroom, and I'm there with my friends from the Hilltop, our school newspaper. And she's like, oh, have you met your husbands yet? And I'm like 20 years old. I'm like, met your husband yet? And then she could see our faces were kind of like, what? And so she was like, well, you know, you don't have to marry him yet. I met my neurosurgeon when I was at Howard. I met my husband. He's a neurosurgeon. And we married a few years after. So, and she just sashayed on out the restroom. But she changed my life because I was in the midst of really bad writer's block with my thesis. And it went from like, what? To like, what? Is she onto something? Are people really trying to find husbands? And I'm out here hustling. Like, am I playing the game all wrong? And so I did that as a thesis. I interviewed a lot of women. Thankfully, there was not this frantic pressure on women to feel like, oh, I had to find someone before I leave campus. And older women, married women I interviewed said, no, don't feel pressure, but definitely keep it something top of mind. And so when I got to Essence, relationships continued to be an area of interest. And as someone who managed that content on the website, I was seeing all this progress we were making professionally as women of color. But when it came to relationships, there was still so much mistakes being made. We weren't making that same level of growth there. And so I wanted to be a part of the change.
And why is that? Why aren't we making that same level?
Well, we're not. Raise your hand if you've ever been in a class that taught you how to date in a healthy way. Raise your hand if you've ever been in a math class. Raise your hand if you've ever been told how to know if someone wants something serious or how to know if you're in love. Raise your hand if you've ever been in a science class. So that's the reality, is we're not taught, and we're expected to just naturally know how to make critical decisions. And for me, I love the work I do. I love, you know, having served as a relationships editor and now a senior editor at Essence, but people are like, ooh, that's the fun stuff. And it's fun, but it's not light work. I take my work serious. I don't take myself serious, but the decision of who lives in your house, who you share your bed, who you share your body, who you have children with, who you share credit with, who you let your finance, like, these are important decisions, and they deserve you being informed and empowered to make healthy decisions.
So are you saying in any way that people of other cultures, they are raised or taught these things?
No. No.
No.
Well, no, I'm not. Because even the book, obviously, I'm a black woman. I have quotes from Audre Lorde and Maya Angelou and women I love and writers who I adore. But any women, I've gotten feedback from all women, and not just even in the U.S., but internationally. I spoke at the Europe Dating Awards last year, and I was able to meet matchmakers from Belgium and different countries there. But they're women. Their women are having the same questions, and we're just in a new time in history because for so long, marriage was not about did you love this person. It was about financial stability. It was about how you move forward. It was about a means of survival. And so as we've progressed to really have options and to have generations of women who are able to be financially independent, then it changes the conversation, right? So we're not all marrying out of high school. The average age of first marriage is raising every year. And so we see that people are being more thoughtful. And so with that, they want support to feel informed.
That's cool. So what are some of the tips that these ladies...
Yes. And so, and first of all, this is a book for every woman, every life stage, whether you're single, whether you never want to get married, whether you've been married for 10 years. So Boss Bride is a mentality. It is about a mindset and not a one day of your life. And so for me, the name came from just the woman I wanted to serve. I'm an ambitious woman, obviously, but I also have a big heart, and I knew I wanted to pursue all of my passions, and I also wanted to be fulfilled in my personal life. And so at the time I was in a long relationship, we were talking about getting married, and I wanted to know how did women, it felt like I was going from single rope to double dutch. Like how will I be able to juggle both of these areas of my life? And so I started to interview women. I'd had an agent, and I knew I wanted more information. And I didn't write the book that I had all the answers to. I wrote the book I wanted to read. So I went out to get the answers for my questions. And in a TV plot twist, the same day I got the contract from my editor, my publisher, St. Martin's Press, I broke up with that guy. So all of a sudden I had to really stand in what I believed and said, okay, if you believe any and every woman can be a boss bride, can you be a boss bride while you go through the breakup? And the answer is absolutely. To be single again after being in a long relationship was exciting. I met someone who I write about in the book and fell in love and share that story. So it's been an exciting journey.
So what can we look for? Give us some.
All right, so chapter 1 is Yes, You Are a Boss Bride, and it just breaks down how every woman can tap into that mentality. Mm-hmm. I've had people who've read the book, who read the book early or got galleys who say, I have a friend who's like, Charreah, I read the first chapter and I had to put it down. It was just a lot. You were making me think. Like this, it's called The Powerful Woman's Playbook for Love and Success.
Right.
But I push you to do the work. So every chapter in the book has something. The most important thing I think each of us own, and it is the ring. And that is not the ringing of your telephone. Oh, sorry, I messed up. That is not a piece of jewelry. It is the ringing of your telephone. And so it prompts you to make important calls. And so I talk about, in the book, just in transparency's sake, I talk about healing a lot of unhealed trauma I had from my parents' breakup and my dad moving away, and how that had shaped and colored so many of my relationship decisions unconsciously. And so once I was conscious to my trust issue, once I was conscious to that baggage I was carrying, I was able to make new decisions. So people will say, well, how did you end up a relationships editor at Essence? And it's like, it's not because I woke up and wanted to do that. It's because I saw the impact of relationship choices in my own family, and I wanted to make sure that I made the right choices. And so that's how my curiosity led me there.
So give us 3 tips.
3 tips, yes. So I'm very proud. I'll be recording the audiobook soon, awesome. So I've been reading it through. And one of the biggest lessons one of the biggest things, and I've been listening to see what resonates with women, and one thing they talk about is in chapter 1, when I talk about how you are the CEO of your life and you are the love of your life. So I've been grateful to be in love and have incredible people in my life, but I know that I can only attract what I am. And so the golden rule has expired. It's not a golden rule we live by. We live by a platinum rule. So it's not just enough just to treat people the way you want them to treat you. You have to treat yourself the way you want other people to treat you. Because we think if I'm really good to somebody, then all of a sudden they're just gonna be really good to me. And how many times have we thought that we've given to someone, we're waiting for them to give to us the way we give, and it doesn't happen and we're disappointed, right? That's you? And it's the playbook. So when you hear something you like, you just put, let me know, receive. Like, that's me. That's me. And so with that, I learned that people treat you the way they see you treat yourself. And so after I went through that breakup, one of the things that was jarring for me is like how much I was waiting, right? Like I was hoping, I was excited for someone else to make vows to me, to be there for me, and better or for worse, for sicker or sicker, worse, sicker, well, the better, what is it?
Better or worse, sicker or poor?
Sickness and health.
Oh, sickness and health.
I'm like, it's not sick and poor. Cause I'm like, we don't want it's either sick or poor. Well, what about neither? I don't want to. But in all seriousness, I had wanted someone else to make vows, and I had never vowed to be there for me. I wanted to go outside of my house and someone to love on me and give me a gift certificate to my favorite spa when I didn't have a favorite spa. And so I had to really up-level how I was loving on me. And when I did that, everything changed. So you talk about going to Oprah's house, like that manifested because I got bolder.
I followed that.
I got unapologetic. And where's my girl at? Right here in the front row. She talks about how I said it. I manifested going to Oprah's house.
Right. I saw that.